Hello guys, hope you all doing well and welcome back to our Windows Server 2022 migration video tutorial series. In this video, we are going to see the steps on how to migrate Active Directory from Windows Server 2012 to Windows Server 2022. Windows Server 2012 and Windows Server 2012 R2 operating systems have already reached the end of their support cycles. Because of this, many organizations wanted to migrate away from these legacy operating systems. End-of-life operating systems have a direct impact on various industry compliances, IT audits, penetration tests, and so on. Even organization does not have a business requirement to upgrade, end-of-life operating system leaves no choice but to upgrade. In the past, I did a similar video series covering Active Directory migration from Windows Server 2012 R2 to Windows Server 2019. Microsoft has already released Windows Server 2022, and I thought let's create a video on how we can migrate Active Directory from 2012 to the newest. You can use the same steps mentioned in this guide to migrate Active Directory from Windows Server 2012 R2 to Windows Server 2022. Let's first discuss few points about Active Directory migration. We can keep the same old IP address for the root domain controller. Active Directory fully supports IP address changes. Once FSMO role migration is completed, we can swap the IP addresses of domain controllers. We can also downgrade forest and domain functional labels if required, but this is not a recommended approach. If you have originally migrated from Windows Server 2003, it's more likely you are still using FRS. In that case, before migration, we need to change the sysvol replication method from FRS to DFSR. Before upgrading the forest and domain functional label, it is necessary to decommission the old Windows Server 2012 domain controllers. In order to successfully migrate to Active Directory, it's important to follow this checklist. Evaluate the business requirements for Active Directory migration. Perform an audit on the existing Active Directory infrastructure to verify its health. Create a detailed implementation plan. And last, prepare the physical server or virtual machine for the domain controller. This is a very straightforward procedure. But first, you need to test it in your test environment. I'm using the test lab created in Oracle VirtualBox for the demonstration. In my test lab, we have single DC Active Directory domain with the name msftwebcast.com. This is our root domain controller running on Windows Server 2012 Standard Edition. On this server, we have installed and configured Active Directory domain services with DNS server role. Currently, this Windows Server 2012 domain controller holds all 5 FSMO roles. Let me show you that. Let's open Windows PowerShell. At PowerShell, type command netdom query fsmo and press enter key. We can confirm that this Windows Server 2012 DC holds all 5 FSMO roles at the moment. Let's check domain and forest functional label. Type dsa.msc and press enter key to open Active Directory users and computer snap-in. Right-click on domain name and select properties. Check the current forest and domain functional labels. We can confirm that the domain and forest functional labels currently operate at Windows Server 2012. Let's check DFSR sysvol replication status. Let's type command dfsr-mig/get global state and press enter key. If response is start, it means you are using FRS, and if response is eliminated, it means you are using DFSR for sysvol replication. From the output, we can confirm that we are already using DFSR for sysvol replication in our Active Directory domain. If you see a response start, then you have to migrate a sysvol replication to DFSR. Go to Windows Server 2022 VM. Our plan is to add a new domain controller with Windows Server 2022, and it will be the new FSMO role holder for the new domain. Once the FSMO role migration is complete, the domain controller running Windows Server 2012 will be decommissioned. After that, the forest and domain functional labels will be raised to Windows Server 2016. After you have installed the Windows Server 2022, there will be most likely be several updates waiting to be installed. So go ahead and install them. Repeat until complete. In my lab setup, Windows Server 2022 is updated to the latest version with all available updates are already installed. These are the 5 steps which we are going to perform during the migration of Active Directory from Windows Server 2012 to Windows Server 2022. The first step is to join this Windows Server 2022 to our existing Active Directory domain. But before that, we want to assign a static IP address to our Windows Server 2022 using a Windows PowerShell. Right-click on Start menu and select Windows PowerShell Admin. To list the available network interfaces on the server, run command get-net adapter. Let's press Enter key. In our case, the server has only one network interface called Ethernet. In order to display the current IP address configuration, run command get-net IP configuration -interface alias, which is going to be Ethernet in our case. Let's press Enter key. Currently, we can see APIPA IP address for IP version 4 address on Ethernet interface. We can use the new -net IP address cmdelete to set up a static IP address for a network interface. For example, to assign a static IP address 172.168.72.49 with subnet mask 255.255.255.0 with default gateway's address 172.168.72.1 on interface Ethernet, we have to run command new -net IP address IP address 172.168.72.49 prefix length 24 default gateway's address 172.168.72.1 and then specify -interface alias switch with Ethernet. Let's press Enter key to assign a static IP address on Ethernet adapter. Next, we want to set up the preferred DNS server's address for the network adapter. For that, we need to run cmdelete set -DNS client server address. Specify server address using the switch server addresses. Here, I have to specify the IP address of our Windows Server 2012 DNS server. Let's specify the adapter by using switch interface alias. Let's press Enter key to execute this cmdelete. Preferred DNS server's address has been also configured. In order to display the current IP address configuration of Ethernet adapter, run command get-net IP configuration -interface alias Ethernet. Press Enter key to execute this cmdelete. One more time, check the current TCP IP configuration for this Windows Server 2022. After network configuration, ping the domain name to verify DNS name resolution and network connectivity. Type ping msftwebcast.com and press Enter key. Here, msftwebcast.com is the name of our Active Directory domain. We are getting a reply back from the IP address 172.168.72.50. This means we have network connectivity with our domain controller and DNS name resolution is working perfectly fine. Now we are ready to join our Windows Server 2022 to our existing AD domain. Type cmdelete add -computer -domain name. Specify the name of your domain, which is msftwebcast.com in our case. Then we need to specify the switch -restart. Press Enter key. We will get prompted to enter our user credentials. This will need to be a domain administrator account or a user that has been delegated rights to join computers to the domain. Type username administrator at msftwebcast.com and type user password and click on OK. The server should automatically restart and be joined to the domain msftwebcast.com. After restart, log into Windows Server 2022 using the domain administrator's username and password. Press Ctrl-Alt-Delete key combination. Click on Other User. Type domain administrator's username and password and press Enter key to sign into this domain join Windows Server 2022. Upon login, the Server Manager dashboard will open automatically. We have successfully joined this Windows Server 2022 to our existing Active Directory domain. Let's close the Server Manager dashboard. The second step is to prepare our existing Active Directory forest. To install the first DC that runs the latest Windows Server version in an existing domain and forest, we need to prepare our existing AD forest using AD-prep utility. Go to Windows Server 2012 domain controller. Type regedit and press Enter key to open registry editor. Go to HK local machine, system, current control set, services and find service NTDS. Expand NTDS and click on parameters. As you can see, the schema version for Windows Server 2012 Active Directory is 56. We need to upgrade Active Directory schema version to support Windows Server 2022 as a domain controller in our Active Directory forest. Mount Windows Server 2022 ISO image on Windows Server 2012 VM. Make sure that you have logged on with an account that has sufficient credentials to run adprep.exe. You must be a member of the Schema Admins group, the Enterprise Admins group, and the Domain Admins group of the domain that hosts the schema master, which is by default the forest root domain. Open Windows PowerShell. Go to Installation Media Drive. In Windows Server 2022, adprep.exe is located in the Support adprep folder of the installation DVD. Type cd support/adprep and press Enter key. Type command adprep.exe/forestprep and press Enter key to prepare our existing Active Directory forest to support Windows Server 2022 as a DC. Type C and press Enter key to continue with forest preparation. We can see the current version is 56 and this process will update the schema version to 88. The process has been started successfully. This will take few seconds to upgrade Active Directory schema version. adprep has successfully updated the forest-wide information. Now type command adprep.exe/domainprep. Press Enter key to update the domain-wide information in our Active Directory forest. After running adprep command, let's again check the schema version. Again go back to regedit and refresh the window by pressing F5 key. Check the schema version. Now it should be 88. The second step to prepare our existing Active Directory forest is completed successfully. Now we can add Windows Server 2022 as a domain controller in our existing forest. Let's go to Windows Server 2022 VM. The third step is to add this Windows Server 2022 as an additional domain controller in our existing Active Directory domain. For that, we need to install Active Directory domain services on the Windows Server 2022, and that can be done easily with PowerShell. Right-click on Start menu and click on Windows PowerShell. In an administrative Windows PowerShell prompt, enter cmd install -Windows feature -name ad-domain -services, and we also want to include required management tools. So I'm going to specify the switch -include management tools. Press Enter key to execute the cmd to install Active Directory domain services on this Windows Server 2022. Installation process will take few seconds to complete. Wait for the installation process to complete. Active Directory domain services with the required features and management tools installed successfully on this server. Once ADDS is installed, we can promote the Windows Server 2022 to be a domain controller in an existing Active Directory domain. To do that, open Server Manager. Click on Start menu. Click on Server Manager tile to open Server Manager dashboard. On Server Manager dashboard, we will see a yellow notification mark highlighting post-deployment configuration required for Active Directory domain services on the Windows Server 2022. Click on yellow notification mark. Click on Promote this server to a domain controller link, and this will launch the Active Directory domain services configuration wizard. From the list of available deployment operation options, we need to select Add a domain controller to an existing domain, and that option is already selected. We have single domain forest, and this Windows Server 2022 is already joined to Active Directory domain MSFT webcast. In our case, there is no need to select a domain and specify the user credential. If required, you can click on Change to specify user credentials to promote this server as an additional domain controller, and you can click on Select to choose other domain from your Active Directory forest. Click Next to continue. We have to make sure that DNS and Global Catalog checkboxes are selected. This domain controller will stored under the default first site, as we don't have any other Active Directory site than the default. Type the directory service restore mode password. Click Next to continue. We can safely ignore the warning about DNS delegation. Click Next. On the Specify Install from Media Options page, select the option that suits your scenario best. We will keep it to default. Click Next. Decide where you want the NTDS, logs file folder, and sysvol folder to be stored, or you can accept the defaults. Since this is a test lab, we will go with the default locations. Click Next. On Review Options page, click Next. All checks passed successfully. We can now click on Install to begin the installation process. Click on Install to start the promotion of this server to a domain controller. The Active Directory promotion process has been started successfully. This will take some time to complete the process. Once the process completes, the server will restart automatically. After reboot, this server will act as an additional domain controller for our domain msfpwebcast.com. The process has been completed successfully. A server is about to restart automatically. Let's press Ctrl-Alt-Delete key combination to unlock the server. After reboot, let's again sign into a newly promoted additional domain controller using the domain administrator's username and password. Upon login, the Server Manager dashboard opens automatically. Open Run menu, type ncpa.cpl and press Enter key. This will open a Network Connections window. Right-click on Ethernet adapter and select Properties. Double-click on IP version 4. Change the preferred DNS server's address to local DNS server's IP address. In our case, which is going to be 172.168.72.49. If you want, you can specify Windows Server 2012's DNS server address as an alternate DNS server. Click OK. Click on OK again and close the Network Connections console. In the next step, let's check the replication between both domain controllers. Click on Tools and select Active Directory Sites and Services. Expand Sites, expand Default First Site Name, expand Servers, and click on WS2K22DC. This is the server name of our Windows Server 2022 domain controller. Now, click on NTDS Settings. Right-click on NTDS Settings, All Task, and click on Check Replication Topology. Active Directory Domain Services on DC WS2K22 has checked the replication topology. We will need to refresh the site's container to see any new or deleted connections. Right now, there is no connection established with our Windows Server 2012 domain controller. Let's right-click here and select Refresh. Now we can see we have automatically generated link which is coming from our Windows Server 2012 domain controller. Since both domain controllers are in the same site, the intra-site replication will be faster. Right-click on automatically generated link from Windows Server 2012 DC. Select Replicate Now. We can confirm that the Active Directory Domain Services has replicated the connection from 2012 DC to our local DC. Click on OK. You have to perform the same steps on Windows Server 2012 domain controller. But you want to perform the steps from this DC only. Let's right-click here, All Task, check Replication Topology. Click OK. Click on Refresh. At this moment, we can see we don't have the replication connection. So let's wait for a few more seconds, or we can perform the replications from here as well. Let's click on Refresh, and we have an automatically generated link which is coming from our 2022 domain controller. Let's right-click here and select Replicate. Active Directory Domain Services has replicated the connection. Click OK. So the replication from Windows Server 2012 is also successful. That means both outbound and inbound replication is completed successfully. Now let's move to fourth step. The fourth step is to move FSMO roles to the new domain controller. We want to transfer all FSMO roles from Windows Server 2012 to Windows Server 2022. To do that, open an administrative PowerShell window on Windows Server 2022 domain controller. Let's right-click on Start menu and select Windows PowerShell Admin. To move or transfer FSMO roles, we can use the PowerShell cmdelete move-ad directory server operation master role. Type cmdelete move-ad directory server operation master role. Then we need to specify switch-identity, and here we have to specify the host name or FQDN of your domain controller to whom you want to assign the FSMO roles. In our case, which is going to be WS2K22-DC. This is the host name of our Windows Server 2022 domain controller. Then we need to specify switch-operation master role. And here we can enter the name of each operation master role, or we can use numbers to specify roles. I'm going to use numbers because it is very easy to specify. 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Press Enter key to execute the cmdelete. Each role transfer will ask for the confirmation before transferring the role to Windows Server 2022 domain controller. You can type Y and press Enter key for each role, or you can type A and press Enter key to transfer all 5 FSMO roles to Windows Server 2022 domain controller. Type A and press Enter key to continue with the transfer process. The CM delete has been executed successfully. Now that we have moved the FSMO roles, we should verify that they are in a place correctly on the new domain controller. To do that, type command netdom query FSMO and press Enter key. From the output, we can verify that all 5 FSMO roles are assigned to Windows Server 2022 domain controller. Introduction environment, monitor logs, keep checking Active Directory replication between both domain controllers, and wait for a few days to move to the next step. If you are using group policy and DFS namespace, you also have to make sure that both features are working normally with Windows Server 2022 DC. Since this is the test lab, I am jumping on to the next step. The 5th step is to demote the old Windows Server 2012 domain controller. Before proceeding to the next steps, make sure anything on your network that may be using a Windows Server 2012 for DNS has been pointed to your new domain controllers. Don't forget to change the DNS server's information that are being distributed by DHCP server. For that, you have to update your DHCP scopes and change your new domain controllers to look at themselves for DNS, not the domain controller you're about to demote. If you are planning to swapping the IP address between old domain controller and new domain controller, then there is no need to change this information. After removing Windows Server 2012 DC, you can also rename your server to the old DC name if it is required. Let's go to our Windows Server 2012 DC. Let me close this. On Windows Server 2012 domain controller, sign in as an enterprise administrator and then open Windows PowerShell. Let me clear the screen. We are going to use uninstall-adds domain controller CM delete to remove Active Directory domain services from this Windows Server 2012. Type CM delete uninstall-adds domain controller. Press Enter key. Enter a new password for the local administrator account. Press Enter key again. Enter the same password again to confirm it. Let's press Enter key again. It is asking us that do you want to continue with this operation because you are about to uninstall Active Directory domain services. You also have to make sure that this is not the last domain controller in the Active Directory domain. Since we want to demote this Windows Server 2012 DC, type Y and press Enter key to continue. After answering Y, it will do the demotion operation and restart the server when process completes. Remember, after the restart, the Windows Server 2012 is still remain the member of our Active Directory domain. As we can see, the validation process has been completed successfully, and now currently Active Directory domain services being uninstalled from this Windows Server 2012. As we can see, the operation is completed successfully and our server is about to restart automatically. Let's press Ctrl to delete key combination to unlock the server. Remember, the Windows Server 2012 is still member of our Active Directory domain. Let's go back to our Windows Server 2022 domain controller. After we demote our last domain controller running with Windows Server 2012, we can raise domain and forest functional level to Windows Server 2016. To upgrade the domain and forest functional level, we can use the Windows PowerShell admin. If you haven't opened Windows PowerShell, then right-click on Start menu and click on Windows PowerShell admin. First, we will raise the domain functional label. Remember, Windows Server 2016 is the highest forest and domain functional label available with Windows Server 2022. Let's type cmdelete set-ad domain mode -identity. Here we have to specify the name of our Active Directory domain, which is msftwebcast.com in my case. Then use switch-domain mode to specify the domain functional label, which is going to be Windows 2016 domain. Let's press Enter key to execute the cmdelete. Type Y and press Enter key. To upgrade forest functional label in our Active Directory domain, we have to use cmdelete set-ad forest mode -identity, which is going to be msftwebcast.com -forest mode, which is going to be Windows 2016 forest. Press Enter key. Again type Y and press Enter key. At this point, we have successfully raised domain and forest functional label to Windows Server 2016. Let's verify that. Type dsa.msc and press Enter key. This will open Active Directory users and computers. Click on your domain name and select Properties. Check the domain and forest functional label. So we can confirm that domain and forest functional label is currently set to Windows Server 2016 mode. With the completion of this step, we can say we have successfully completed the migration of Active Directory from Windows Server 2012 to Windows Server 2022. The same steps apply when you are migrating from Windows Server 2012 R2, Windows Server 2016, and Windows Server 2019. That's all for this video on how to migrate Active Directory from Windows Server 2012 to Windows Server 2022. I hope you found this video helpful and interesting. If you have any questions and suggestions, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you all for watching this video. Have a nice day.